The rain hammered down on Lisa Martinez's old car as she drove through the dark highway. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tight. She was tired. Very tired. Working 2 shifts at the diner always made her feel like this. Her back hurt and her feet were sore. All she wanted was to get home to her daughter Amy. The clock on her dashboard showed 11:30 at night. The pharmacy would close at midnight. She had to pick up Amy's medicine before then. Amy had been sick for 3 days with a fever. The medicine cost too much money, but Lisa had saved up just enough to buy it. Lightning flashed across the sky. The rain got heavier. Lisa turned on her windshield wipers to the fastest setting. She could barely see the road ahead. Other cars had their hazard lights on. Everyone was driving slowly because of the bad weather. That's when she saw him. A man stood next to a broken-down car on the side of the road. His car had its hazard lights blinking. The man was trying to change a tire, but the rain was making everything difficult. He was getting soaked. Lisa could see him struggling with the jack and the spare tire. Lisa slowed down. She should keep driving. She needed to get Amy's medicine. She was already running late. But something made her pull over. Maybe it was because she knew what it felt like to need help and have no one around. She parked her car behind the broken-down vehicle and turned on her hazard lights. She grabbed her umbrella from the back seat and got out into the rain. The wind was strong and cold. It felt like tiny needles hitting her face. The man looked up when he heard her car door slam shut. He was maybe 40 years old with brown hair that was now wet and messy. His clothes were old and worn. His jeans had a small hole in the knee. His jacket looked like he had owned it for many years. "Need some help?" Lisa called out over the sound of the rain. The man straightened up. He looked surprised that someone had stopped. "I don't want to bother you," he said. "You should get going, in this weather." "It's no bother," Lisa said. She walked over to him and opened her umbrella. "Here, get under this." The man stepped under the umbrella with her. Up close, she could see he was shivering. His hands were muddy from trying to work on the tire. The spare tire was on the ground next to the car, but he hadn't been able to get the flat tire off yet. "I'm Dan," he said. "Lisa," she replied. "What's wrong with your tire?" Dan pointed to the flat tire. There was a big nail stuck in it. "Picked up that nail somewhere. The spare tire is good, but I can't get this one off. The lug nuts are stuck tight." Lisa looked at the situation. She had helped her ex-husband change tires before. She knew what to do. "The rain is making everything slippery," she said. "We need to be careful." She handed Dan the umbrella. "Hold this over both of us." Then she knelt down next to the car. The ground was muddy and wet. Her work pants would be dirty, but she didn't care. "You don't have to do this," Dan said. "I can call someone." "In this weather? At this time of night?" Lisa shook her head. "It might take hours for someone to come. Let me help." She looked at the jack. Dan had placed it in the wrong spot. Lisa moved it to the right place under the car frame. Then she started working on the lug nuts. They were very tight, but she used her full strength to loosen them. "How? Do you know how to do this?" Dan asked. "My ex-husband taught me," Lisa said as she worked. "He said every person should know how to change a tire. Guess he was right about something." It took 15 minutes of hard work. Lisa's hands got dirty and wet. Her knees were muddy from kneeling on the ground, but she got the flat tire off and put the spare tire on. Dan helped by holding the umbrella and passing her tools. "There," Lisa said as she tightened the last lug nut. "That should get you home, safe." Dan looked amazed. "I can't believe you did that. Thank you so much." Lisa wiped her hands on a rag from her car. "It's nothing. We're all just trying to make it through the day, right?" Dan reached for his wallet. "Please let me pay you. Something. This means a lot to me." "No way," Lisa said quickly. "I don't want your money." "But you helped a stranger in the rain. You got all muddy. Your clothes are dirty now." Lisa smiled. "That's what people do. They help each other." She looked at her watch. It was 11:45. She still had time to get to the pharmacy. "At least take my business card." Dan said. I don't need anything, Lisa said. She was already walking back to her car. Just be safe driving home. Before getting in her car, Lisa remembered something. She opened her trunk and pulled out a thermos. It was full of coffee she had saved from work. She had planned to drink it at home, but Dan looked cold and wet. She walked back to him. Here, take this coffee. It's still warm. And keep the umbrella, too. Dan took the thermos and umbrella. He looked like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Drive careful, Lisa said. The roads are slippery. She got back in her car and drove away. In her rearview mirror, she could see Dan standing there holding the umbrella and thermos. He was watching her car until she disappeared around a curve. Lisa made it to the pharmacy with 5 minutes to spare. She bought Amy's medicine and drove home. When she got there, Amy was sleeping. Lisa checked her daughter's fever. It was still high, but the medicine would help. As Lisa changed into dry clothes, she thought about the man on the highway. She hoped he made it home safe. She hoped his car would run okay on the spare tire. She had done what felt right. That was enough. She never thought she would see Dan again. She had no idea that stopping to help him would change everything, not just for her, but for all of humanity. Outside, the rain kept falling on the quiet town, but inside her small apartment, Lisa felt warm knowing she had helped someone who needed it. That was what mattered. That was what made the difference. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Tonight, she had made sure one stranger got home safe. Sometimes that's all a person can do. Sometimes that's everything. 3 months had passed since that rainy night on the highway. Lisa Martinez was wiping down tables at the diner when her manager Tony walked over to her. Lisa, there's a fancy lady here asking for you, Tony said. He looked confused. She's wearing an expensive suit and everything. You in some kind of trouble? Lisa looked up from cleaning the table. Through the window, she could see a black car parked outside. It was the kind of car rich people drove. Shiny and new. Lisa had never seen it before. I don't know what this is about, Lisa said. She put down her cleaning rag and walked to the front of the diner. A woman in her 30s was sitting in a booth near the window. She had blonde hair pulled back neat and clean. Her suit looked like it cost more money than Lisa made in a month. The woman was looking at a tablet computer and typing on it. Are you Lisa Martinez? The woman asked when Lisa walked over. Yes, that's me, Lisa said. She sat down across from the woman. Do I know you? The woman smiled and put away her tablet. My name is Kate Brooks. I work for Brooks Industries. You might have heard of us. Lisa shook her head. Sorry, I don't know much about big companies. We make airplanes and rockets, Kate said. My boss has been looking for you for 3 months. He hired private investigators to find you. Lisa felt worried. Why? I haven't done anything wrong. Kate reached into her purse and pulled out a folder. Do you remember helping a man with a flat tire on Highway 52? It was raining very hard that night. Lisa remembered right away. Dan. Yes, I helped him change his tire. Is he okay? More than okay, Kate said. His real name is Daniel Brooks. He owns my company. He's worth about $12 billion. Lisa stared at Kate. That's not possible. Dan was just a regular guy. His clothes were old. His car was old too. Kate opened the folder and showed Lisa a photograph. It was a picture of Dan from that night, but the photo was taken from far away. It showed Lisa helping him with the tire in the rain. Mr. Brooks sometimes drives regular cars when he wants to be alone, Kate said. That night he had just come from a very bad business meeting. He was upset and wanted to drive by himself. Then he got the flat tire. Lisa looked at the photograph. It was definitely her and Dan, but she couldn't believe Dan was a billionaire. He never forgot what you did for him, Kate continued. You helped him when he needed it most. You didn't want any money. You gave him coffee and your umbrella. You made him remember why he started his company in the first place. Kate pulled out an envelope from the folder. Mr. Brooks wants to give you this. Lisa opened the envelope. Inside was a check. She looked at the numbers and couldn't believe what she saw. $50,000. More money than she had ever seen in her life. "I can't take this," Lisa said quickly. "I just helped someone with a tire. Anyone would have done the same thing." "That's not true," Kate said. "Mr. Brooks counted 17 cars that drove past him before you stopped. You were the only one who helped." Lisa's hands were shaking as she held the check. "This is too much money." "Mr. Brooks doesn't think so," Kate said. "He told me that your kindness meant more to him than any business deal he ever made. He wants you to have this money." Lisa thought about Amy. Her daughter had been sick again. Last week. The medical bills were piling up. Amy needed to see a specialist, but Lisa couldn't afford it. This money would change everything. "Why did he wait 3 months to find me?" Lisa asked. Kate smiled. "He wanted to make sure you were the real deal. He had investigators watch you for weeks. They saw you help an old lady with her groceries. They saw you give your lunch to a homeless man. They saw you work extra shifts to pay for your daughter's medicine. Mr. Brooks wanted to be sure you were genuinely kind, not just pretending." Lisa felt embarrassed that people had been watching her. "I was just doing normal things." "That's exactly what impressed him," Kate said. "You help people because that's who you are, not because you want something back." Tony walked over to their table. "Lisa, is everything okay over here?" "It's fine, Tony," Lisa said, but her voice sounded strange even to her. Kate stood up from the booth. "Mr. Brooks would like to meet with you sometime, when you're ready. He has something important to tell you about why your help that night mattered so much." "What do you mean?" Lisa asked. "I can't explain it all here," Kate said. "But what you did that night might be more important than you realize, not just for Mr. Brooks, but for a lot of people." Kate handed Lisa a business card. It was thick and expensive feeling. "Call me when you want to meet with him. There's no pressure, but he really hopes you'll say yes." After Kate left, Lisa sat in the booth staring at the check. $50,000. She could pay off all her bills. She could take Amy to the best doctors. She could maybe even take a vacation. She had never been on a real vacation in her whole life. But she felt confused too. Why would a billionaire care so much about her helping him with a tire? Rich people had assistants and drivers and people to help them with everything. Why did her help matter so much? That night, Lisa showed the check to Amy. Her daughter was 8 years old, but she was smart for her age. "Mom, this is a lot of money," Amy said. "What are you going to do with it?" "First, we're going to see that specialist about your headaches," Lisa said. "Then maybe we can get a better apartment. One with 2 bedrooms so you can have your own room." Amy hugged her mom tight. "The man you helped must be very nice." "I think he might be," Lisa said. "But I still don't understand why this happened." Lisa looked at Kate's business card. Part of her wanted to call right away and meet this Daniel Brooks. She wanted to understand why her simple act of kindness had led to this. But another part of her felt scared. Her life was simple and quiet. Meeting billionaires seemed like it belonged in a different world. She decided to wait a few days before calling. She needed time to think about all of this. But deep down, she knew she would call Kate soon. She was too curious not to. Something told her that this was just the beginning of something much bigger than she could imagine. 6 months after that rainy night, Lisa was making breakfast for Amy when the emergency alert sounded on every TV, radio, and phone in the country. The loud beeping noise made both of them jump. "Mom, what's that sound?" Amy asked from the kitchen table. Lisa turned up the volume on their small TV. A news reporter appeared on the screen looking very serious. "We interrupt all programs for this special announcement from the President of the United States," the reporter said. Lisa sat down, next to Amy. They watched as the president appeared on screen. Behind him stood several people in suits. One of them looked familiar to Lisa, but she couldn't place where she had seen him before. "My fellow Americans," the president began. "Today I must share news that will change our world forever. We are not alone in the universe." Lisa grabbed Amy's hand. This couldn't be real. For the past year, we have been in contact with beings from other worlds. The president continued. They call themselves the Zenith Alliance. They have been watching Earth for many years. The camera showed a video of strange ships in space. The ships didn't look like anything humans had built. They were smooth and silver and moved in ways that seemed impossible. The leader of this first contact effort is Daniel Brooks, CEO of Brooks Industries, the president said. Lisa's mouth fell open. Daniel Brooks, the man she had helped with the flat tire. She looked closer at the people, standing behind the president. There he was, Dan, but now he was wearing an expensive suit and looked very important. Mr. Brooks will now explain the situation, the president said. Daniel stepped forward to the microphone. He looked nervous but determined. 6 months ago, the Zenith Alliance made contact with our company, Daniel said. They have been studying human behavior for decades. They wanted to know if our species is ready to join their galactic community. Lisa couldn't believe what she was hearing. The man she had helped in the rain was now on TV talking about aliens. The aliens have rules about which species can join them, Daniel continued. They only accept civilizations that show kindness, cooperation, and care for others. Species that are too violent or selfish are not allowed to have their advanced technology. Amy squeezed her mother's hand. Mom, are there really aliens? I think so, honey, Lisa whispered. Daniel kept talking. The Zenith Alliance has been testing humanity. They watch how we treat each other when no one is looking. They study our wars, our crimes, and our cruelty. But they also watch our acts of kindness and love. The camera showed more images of the alien ships. Some were huge, bigger than cities. Others were small and fast. I must be honest with you, Daniel said. The aliens' opinion of humanity is not good. They see too much hate and violence on our planet. They are not sure we deserve to join their alliance. Lisa felt scared. What would happen if the aliens decided humans were too bad? However, Daniel continued, there is hope. One alien observer has been documenting the good things humans do. Commander Kale of the Zenith Alliance believes that humans have the potential to grow and change. The TV showed a picture of an alien. It looked somewhat like a human, but taller and thinner. Its skin was pale blue and its eyes were large and dark. It didn't look scary, just different. Commander Kale has been watching ordinary people do extraordinary things, Daniel said. People who help strangers, people who sacrifice for others, people who show kindness when they could choose selfishness. Lisa thought about that night on the highway. Had the aliens been watching her help Daniel? The Zenith Alliance has agreed to give humanity one final test, Daniel announced. Over the next year, they will present our world with challenges, natural disasters, shortages of food and water, and problems that can only be solved if countries work together. The president stepped back to the microphone. We are asking all Americans and all people of Earth to show the best of humanity during this test. Help your neighbors. Be kind to strangers. Work together instead of fighting. After the announcement ended, regular TV programs came back on. But Lisa couldn't focus on anything else. She kept thinking about Daniel and the aliens and the test. Her phone rang. It was Kate Brooks. Lisa, I know you just saw the news, Kate said. Mr. Brooks would like to meet with you today if possible. This is very important. Is this about the aliens? Lisa asked. Yes. Can you come to our building downtown? We'll send a car for you. 2 hours later, Lisa sat in Daniel Brooks' office on the top floor of a huge building. The office had windows that looked out over the whole city. Daniel sat across from her at a big wooden desk. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you the truth before, Daniel said. The government made me promise to keep the alien contact secret until today. I still can't believe it's real, Lisa said. Aliens, actually watching us. Daniel turned his computer screen toward her. It showed security camera footage from that rainy night 6 months ago. But this footage was taken from high above, like from a satellite or airplane. This video was recorded by Commander Kale's ship, Daniel explained. He was observing human behavior that night. He saw you stop to help me when 17 other cars drove past. Lisa watched herself on the screen helping with the tire in the rain. It looked so ordinary. Just two people fixing a car. Commander. Kale was amazed by what you did, Daniel said. In his report to the Zenith Alliance, he wrote that your actions proved humans could choose kindness over convenience. You helped a stranger when you were tired, when you were in a hurry, when it would have been easier to keep driving. But lots of people help each other, Lisa said. Not as often as you might think, Daniel replied. The aliens have been watching for 50 years. They've seen too many examples of humans being cruel to each other. Your kindness that night became one of Commander Kale's strongest arguments for giving humanity this test. Lisa felt overwhelmed. You're saying that me helping you change a tire might save the human race? That's exactly what I'm saying, Daniel said. And now I need your help again. The test has begun, and I think you might be the key to humanity, passing it. Outside the office windows, the city looked the same as always. But Lisa knew that everything had changed. Somewhere up in space, aliens were watching and judging humanity. And somehow, her simple act of kindness had become part of the most important test in human history. 2 weeks after the alien announcement, strange things started happening around the world. The news called them the challenges. Lisa watched the reports every morning before work, feeling worried about what each day might bring. First, all the satellites that controlled the internet went dark for 3 days. People couldn't use their phones or computers to talk to anyone far away. Then, huge storms hit different countries at the same time. Earthquakes shook cities that never had earthquakes before. Rivers dried up in some places while other areas flooded. The worst part was that these disasters seemed planned. They happened in ways that forced people to work together or suffer alone. Lisa was wiping tables at the diner when Daniel Brooks walked in. He looked tired and stressed. His expensive suit was wrinkled and his hair was messy. We need to talk, he said, sitting down in her section. Lisa poured him a cup of coffee. The diner was almost empty. Most people were staying home because of all the strange weather. The aliens are testing us harder than we expected, Daniel said quietly. Every challenge requires people to help each other, but too many humans are failing the test. What do you mean? Lisa asked. Daniel showed her his phone. It had videos from around the world. In one video, people were fighting over water during a drought. In another, rich people were buying all the food in stores while poor families went hungry. The aliens are watching everything, Daniel said. Commander Kale is trying to find examples of humans helping each other, but for every good thing people do, there are 10 bad things. Lisa sat down across from him. Outside, it was starting to rain again. It had been raining a lot since the challenges began. What can we do? She asked. I have an idea, Daniel said, but I need your help. I want to start something called the Flat Tire Project. Lisa didn't understand. What's that? Remember that night when you helped me? You didn't know who I was. You didn't want anything back. You just helped because it was the right thing to do. Daniel leaned forward. We need to get millions of people to do the same thing. Daniel explained his plan. The Flat Tire Project would be simple. People would look for chances to help strangers every day. Small things like helping carry groceries, giving directions, or sharing food. They would share their stories online to encourage others. But I'm just a waitress, Lisa said. I don't know how to start something big like that. That's exactly why you're perfect for this, Daniel replied. The aliens don't trust governments or big companies. They want to see ordinary people choosing to be kind. You represent what's best about humanity. Lisa felt scared. What if people don't listen to me? They will, Daniel said. Because you're real. You help people because you care, not because someone is paying you to care. The next day, Daniel's company created a website for the Flat Tire Project. Lisa made a simple video explaining the idea. She sat in her small kitchen talking to her phone camera. Hi, I'm Lisa Martinez, she said in the video. A few months ago, I helped a stranger change his tire in the rain. I didn't know it then, but that small act of kindness is now part of the biggest test humanity has ever faced. She told people about the aliens and the challenges. She asked everyone to look for ways to help others every day. It doesn't have to be big, Lisa said. Help someone carry heavy bags. Share your lunch with someone who looks hungry. Check on your elderly neighbors. These small things matter more than you know. The video spread quickly on social media. People shared it millions of times. Soon stories started coming in from around the world. A teacher in Mexico shared her lunch with hungry students during a food shortage. A farmer in India gave water to travelers during a heat wave. Children in Africa helped rebuild houses after an earthquake. But the project also faced problems. Some politicians said it was stupid to focus on small acts of kindness during a global crisis. Some rich people complained that the project made them look bad. A few religious leaders said only, God should judge humanity, not aliens. Lisa started getting angry messages on her phone. People called her names and told her to mind her own business. Someone threw a rock through her apartment window. Maybe this was a mistake, Lisa told Daniel during one of their meetings. People are getting mad at me. That proves the project is working, Daniel said. The people who are angry are the ones who don't want to change. But look at all the good stories coming in. He showed her hundreds of videos on his computer. People all over the world were helping each other. Neighbors, who had never talked before, were working together to solve problems. Strangers were sharing food and water during shortages. The aliens noticed too. Commander Kale sent a message to Daniel saying that human cooperation had increased by 30% since the Flat Tire Project began. But then came the biggest challenge. Yet a massive earthquake hit the west coast of the United States. The quake was so strong that it destroyed bridges, knocked out power, and cut off several cities from the outside world. Millions of people needed help. The government tried to send aid, but the roads were too damaged. Planes couldn't land because the airports were broken. It looked like the disaster areas would be cut off for weeks. That's when the Flat Tire Project really proved itself. People with boats sailed along the coast bringing supplies to trapped towns. Truck drivers found back roads that were still passable and brought food and medicine. Amateur radio operators set up communication networks when cell towers went down. Most importantly, people shared what they had without being asked. Families with extra food fed their hungry neighbors. People with working generators shared power. Doctors and nurses walked for miles to help injured people. Lisa watched the rescue efforts on TV from her apartment. Amy was doing homework at the kitchen table. Mom, are we going to pass the alien test? Amy asked. Lisa looked at all the stories of people helping each other during the earthquake. She thought about the millions of small acts of kindness happening around the world because of the Flat Tire Project. I think we might, she said, but we have to keep trying every day. On her phone, Lisa saw a new message from someone in California. A woman had helped rescue 10 people from a collapsed building. At the end of her message, she wrote, "Thank you for reminding us that helping strangers is what makes us human." Lisa smiled and showed the message to Amy. Maybe they really could pass this test. Maybe humanity was better than the aliens thought. But the hardest challenges were still coming, and Lisa knew the Flat Tire Project would face its biggest tests yet. The alien challenges got worse as winter approached. Lisa watched the news every morning and felt her heart sink. Crops were failing around the world. The weather was too hot in some places and too cold in others. Ships carrying food between countries were getting lost in strange storms that appeared from nowhere. World leaders held emergency meetings every day. They argued about who should get the remaining food and clean water. Some countries closed their borders and refused to help others. Rich nations hoarded supplies while poor nations suffered. But the Flat Tire Project kept growing. Lisa's phone buzzed constantly with messages from around the world. A group of teenagers in Australia was delivering groceries to elderly people during food shortages. Farmers in Brazil were giving away free vegetables to hungry families. Factory workers in Germany were sharing their lunch with unemployed neighbors. "Look at this," Amy said one evening. She was reading stories on Lisa's laptop while doing homework. A whole town in Canada is sharing everything they have. Nobody is going hungry because everyone is helping. Lisa smiled as she read the story. The town of Pine Ridge had only 3,000 people, but they had organized themselves like a big family. People with extra food shared it. Those with medical training took care of the sick. Everyone worked together to make sure nobody was left behind. That's what we need everywhere, Lisa said. But not everyone was happy about the flat tire project's success. The next morning, Lisa was walking to work when 3 men in expensive suits approached her on the street. They looked like government agents or corporate executives. "Ms. Martinez, we need to talk," one of them said. "I'm late for work," Lisa replied, trying to walk around them. The tallest man stepped in front of her. "Your little project is causing problems. People are sharing resources instead of buying them. Companies are losing money. The economy is getting unstable." Lisa felt angry. People are helping each other survive. That's more important than money. "Is it?" another man asked. "What happens when this crisis ends and everyone expects everything to be free? What happens to jobs and businesses?" "I don't know," Lisa said honestly. "But I know what happens if we don't help each other. We fail the alien test and maybe lose everything." The men exchanged looks. The first one spoke again. "There are powerful people who think this test is fake. They think the government made up the aliens to control people." Lisa stared at them. "The aliens showed themselves on TV. Everyone saw the ships." "Video can be faked," the man said. "Maybe someone wants people to act differently and created this whole alien story." Lisa didn't believe them, but their words worried her. What if some people thought the aliens weren't real? What if they stopped helping others because they didn't believe in the test? That afternoon, Lisa met Daniel at his office. She told him about the men in suits. "I was afraid this would happen," Daniel said. He looked tired and frustrated. "Some powerful people don't want the world to change. They make money from the way things are now." "But the aliens are real, right?" Lisa asked. "This isn't some trick?" Daniel walked to his window and pointed up at the sky. "Look." Lisa looked up and saw something that made her gasp. High above the city, almost too far to see clearly, were 3 silver shapes floating in the sky. They were the alien ships. "They've been there for weeks," Daniel said. "Commander Kale's ship and 2 others. They're watching everything we do." Lisa felt relieved but also more worried. If the aliens were really watching, then humanity's future really did depend on passing this test. "The challenges are about to get much harder," Daniel continued. "Commander, Kale warned me that the final phase is starting. The aliens will create problems that can only be solved if every country works together." The next week, Daniel's prediction came true. All the power plants in North America stopped working at the same time. Not broken, just turned off by some kind of alien technology. The only way to get power back was for the United States, Canada, and Mexico to share their remaining energy sources equally. At first, the 3 governments argued about who should get what. Each country wanted to keep its own people comfortable. But as the days passed and the power stayed off, ordinary people started working together across borders. The Flat Tire Project organized massive cooperation efforts. Americans drove trucks full of batteries and generators to Mexican cities. Canadians shared their wood and coal with Americans. Mexicans sent food to Canadian towns that were running out. Most importantly, people ignored their governments and helped each other directly. Families on the American side of the border invited Mexican families to stay in their homes when the power was off. Canadian doctors crossed into the United States to help in hospitals that had no electricity. Lisa watched all of this happen from her apartment, which also had no power. She and Amy used candles for light and cooked on a small camping stove. But their neighbors shared food and water, and everyone looked out for each other. "The governments finally agreed to work together," Amy said, reading from a battery-powered radio. "They're sharing the power equally between all 3 countries. As soon as the government signed the agreement, the power came back on. Lisa's lights flickered to life and the refrigerator started humming again. The aliens turned it back on, Lisa realized. They were testing whether people could cooperate across borders. Similar challenges happened around the world. In Europe, a strange disease affected all the computer systems and countries had to share their technology to fix it. In Asia, the ocean currents changed suddenly, and nations had to work together to prevent flooding. Each time, governments were slow to cooperate. But ordinary people inspired by the Flat Tire Project helped each other immediately. They didn't wait for politicians or corporations to tell them what to do. Lisa's phone was buzzing with thousands of messages from around the world. People were sharing stories of cooperation and kindness. The project had grown from a simple idea about helping strangers to a global movement of ordinary people solving problems together. But Lisa also noticed something else in the messages. Some people were getting tired. The challenges had been going on for months and people were exhausted from constantly helping others. "Mom, what if people stop helping?" Amy asked one night. "What if they get too tired to be kind?" Lisa didn't have a good answer. She was tired too. Running the Flat Tire Project while working at the diner and taking care of Amy was exhausting. Some days she wondered if they could keep this up much longer. That night, Lisa got a call from Daniel. His voice sounded urgent. "Commander Kale sent me a message," he said. "The aliens are about to make their final decision about humanity. Whatever happens in the next few weeks will determine whether we pass or fail the test." Lisa looked out her window at the city lights. Somewhere up there, aliens were watching and judging everything humans did. The biggest test was still coming, and Lisa wasn't sure if humanity was ready for it. The final test came without warning on a cold Tuesday morning in March. Lisa was making breakfast when every screen in the world showed the same message. TVs, computers, phones, and electronic billboards all displayed the same words in every language. Final assessment beginning, 24 hours remaining. Within an hour, the most devastating challenges yet began happening everywhere at once. Massive hurricanes hit 3 different continents. Earthquakes struck major cities. Computer viruses shut down banks, hospitals, and transportation systems. Fresh water became contaminated in dozens of countries. Food shipments stopped moving between nations. But this time was different. The governments of the world didn't argue or delay. They had learned from the previous challenges. World leaders immediately started working together, sharing resources and coordinating rescue efforts. More importantly, people everywhere responded, like they had been training for this moment their whole lives. Lisa watched the news from the diner, which had become an unofficial community center during emergencies. People brought battery-powered radios and shared information. Families who had lost power came to charge their phones and eat warm meals. "Look at this," said Mrs. Chen, an elderly customer who came in every day. She was watching videos on her phone. "People in Japan are sharing their earthquake emergency supplies with strangers. Nobody is keeping anything for themselves." On the screen, Lisa saw amazing things happening around the world. In Florida, people were rescuing each other from the hurricane using small boats and jet skis. They didn't wait for official rescue teams. In Turkey, neighbors were digging people out of collapsed buildings with their bare hands. In Brazil, communities were purifying contaminated water using methods they learned from online videos. The Flat Tire Project network had become like a nervous system for the whole planet. Information and help flowed instantly between cities and countries. When hospitals in India ran out of medicine, factories in Mexico immediately started shipping supplies. When farms in Africa lost their crops, fishing communities in Norway sent dried fish. But the most remarkable thing was how people treated each other during the chaos. Lisa saw a video from New York City where people were walking for miles because the subway trains weren't working. Instead of pushing and fighting, they were helping each other. Young people carried bags for elderly walkers. Strangers shared water and snacks. Parents with strollers were helped upstairs by people they had never met. "It's like the whole world became one big neighborhood," Amy said. She was helping Lisa serve food to people who had come to the diner for shelter. As the day went on, Lisa noticed something beautiful happening. The challenges were terrible, but people were responding with more kindness and cooperation than anyone had thought possible. Instead of panic and selfishness, there was calm determination and generosity. That evening, Daniel Brooks arrived at the diner. He looked exhausted, but also amazed. "Commander Kale has been sending me updates all day," he told Lisa quietly. "The aliens are shocked by what they're seeing. They expected humans to fail this final test completely." "What do you mean?" Lisa asked. "They made this test impossible on purpose," Daniel explained. No single country or government could solve all these problems alone. The only way to pass was for ordinary people to ignore borders and politics and just help each other as fellow humans. Daniel showed Lisa his phone. It had messages from Commander Kale with statistics about human cooperation during the final test. The numbers were incredible. Billions of people had helped strangers. Crime rates had dropped to almost zero. International cooperation was happening faster than ever before in human history. They're making their decision right now, Daniel said. The Alien Council is meeting on Commander Kale's ship. As if summoned by his words, the 3 silver ships that had been hovering high above the city began to descend. They moved slowly and gracefully, getting bigger as they came closer. People came out of buildings and stood in the streets looking up at the alien vessels. Lisa and Amy joined the crowd outside the diner. The ships were beautiful, smooth and silver, with no visible engines or weapons. They landed gently in parks and open spaces around the city. A figure emerged from the nearest ship. It was Commander Kale, the alien Lisa had seen in photographs. He was tall and thin with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. He wore a simple white uniform and moved with quiet dignity. Behind him came other aliens, each carrying what looked like communication devices. They approached groups of humans calmly, without fear. Commander Kale walked directly toward the diner. His large eyes looked at Lisa with what seemed like recognition. "Lisa Martinez," he said in perfect English. His voice was soft and musical. "You are the woman who helped Daniel Brooks change his tire in the rain." Lisa nodded, too amazed to speak. "That night you demonstrated something my people thought humans had lost," Commander Kale continued. "Pure kindness without expectation of reward. Your actions that night became the foundation of our hope for your species." Daniel appeared beside Lisa. "What is the Council's decision?" Commander Kale looked around at all the humans who had gathered. Children hid behind their parents' legs. Adults stared in wonder. But nobody ran away or showed hostility. "The Zenith Alliance Council has decided to grant humanity provisional membership in our confederation," Commander Kale announced. "Your species has proven that it possesses the most important quality for galactic citizenship, the ability to put compassion above self-interest." Cheers erupted from the crowd. People hugged each other and cried with relief and joy, but Commander Kyle raised his hand for quiet. "This is not the end of your test. It is the beginning of a new responsibility. You must continue to demonstrate the kindness and cooperation you have shown during these challenges." He turned back to Lisa. "We would like you and Daniel Brooks to serve as Earth's first ambassadors to the Zenith Alliance. You represent the best of what humanity can become." Lisa felt overwhelmed. "I'm just a waitress. I don't know anything about being an ambassador." "You know the most important thing," Commander Kale replied. "You know how to help others simply because it is right to do so." 6 months later, Lisa stood in the newly built Earth Embassy preparing to meet delegates from 12 different alien worlds. She wore a simple blue dress, not the fancy uniform diplomats usually wore. Daniel had convinced her that being herself was more important than looking official. On the wall behind her hung a display case containing her old umbrella from that rainy night. It had become a symbol of humanity's greatest strength. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things simply because they care about each other. Amy ran into the embassy after school, her backpack bouncing as she moved. "Mom, my teacher says we might visit other planets someday," Amy said excitedly. Lisa smiled and hugged her daughter. "Maybe we will, honey. But first we have to make sure we take care of our own planet and each other." Outside the embassy windows, the city looked the same as always. But Lisa knew everything had changed. Humanity had joined a galactic community not because of advanced technology or military power, but because a simple act of kindness in the rain had reminded everyone what it meant to be human.